Should you play a Druid class in Diablo 4? Well, I have played quite a lot of Diablo 4 during the early access beta weekend and open beta weekends, so 2 weekends in a row I played all 5 classes, and I have tried Druid as well, and I have very mixed feelings about this class, which I'm going to tell you in a TLDR, too long didn't read, way, so that you can just at least determine for yourself if it is worth your time investment at all, or maybe you should look the other way. Alright, so the Druid is an interesting class. If you are playing World of Warcraft, it is kinda a combination of 2 archetypes. It is a combination of shape-shifting Druid, which is of feral kind of capability, as well as the enhancement Shaman. Well, with a bit of an elementalism kind of built into it, because you can't go without it when you deal with the elements, can you? I tried playing most of the time as a Lycan, as a werewolf, basically, as a shapeshifter, and I have enjoyed it, kind of, but I'll tell you straight away that I found the gameplay of the Druid in a Lycan form, while probably the most rewarding in terms of the feeling of it, in terms of the how visceral it is, in terms of how much you feel each swing of the of the claws and everything there. You kind of feel like you're ripping things to shreds when it happens and when the fight goes in your favor. But overall, I found it the hardest to level with, the hardest to play with, and in some situations and in some configurations and some builds, virtually impossible to solo beat the boss of the dungeon unless you are overgearing the dungeon and unless you are out-leveling the dungeon massively. But the the content scales in Diablo, so there is no such thing as out-leveling per se. Anyway, so more specifically, while you think that you have quite a lot of variety with the Druid, and it certainly gives you quite a lot of variety, you can be either a bear, or you can shift into a kind of a were-bear if you like, or you can shift into a Lycan or a werewolf. Werewolf, from the abilities that I've been exposed to early into the game, I can see that it's a little bit more of a solo, self-healing, kind of reaping things but not looking too much after your group, yeah, kind of build. While the bear is shape-shifting and looks more into mitigation of the damage as opposed to leeching life back or healing itself. As well as when you pulverize, for example, and when you go into some other kind of abilities here, you are, well, I couldn't help but shake off the feeling that you are a bit of a more of a group tank kind of build, so to speak. I did not experiment with it too much. Most of my time went into the wolf form. It is fun. It is definitely fun. It is definitely a class for someone who sees it as a long-term investment, which probably it's one of those classes that seems like it will start shining with more gear, and as you perfect your build, as you put quite a lot more points towards, I would say, probably towards level 20-25 is when you will start feeling a little more powerful. But early into the game, and as I said with the Wizard review, I think that the problem is going to be for this class retaining the players who have not been gratified and who have not been given enough fun. Yes, it's fun hacking and slashing. Yes, it's fun ripping things to shreds and leaping around and snarling and all this kind of stuff. There is a lot of very, very unique kind of gameplay to that. And if that's your thing, that might pay for the whole show, so to speak. But at the same time, it's the hardest to fight with, it's the hardest work that you have to do. I've been reviewing Barbarian. Barbarian also has to charge from target to target, reach those that are running away. But somehow I've never been knocked down as many times on a Barbarian as I was as a werewolf playing a Druid. And those kind of things. So my impressions, I've had very high hopes for Druid, and no, it's not like I've built it up for myself and that's why I'm so disappointed. But I've had hopes for the Druid, and I like shapeshifters in, for example, in World of Warcraft. I play Druid very, very nicely, and I have a werebear form, by the way, in case you know what it is and in case you know what Mage Tower Challenge is. So I am quite dedicated towards my Druid. But here I expected kind of more. It's a bit simplistic, at least this early into the game. Of course, I haven't been, scraping the ceiling even of beta because my playtime is limited and I had to spread it between many characters. But I had enough, like I tried enough. You know how some people say you don't need to eat the whole apple to tell if it's rotten or not. I'm not saying that the class is rotten, but I'm using a metaphor here. kind of an analogy to illustrate how it feels to me. I think I sampled the fruit enough to tell if I like the taste or not. And in this particular form of it, in this particular incarnation of it, I'm gonna simply say it's not a bad class. I just think that there are better classes that are appealing to slightly more chilled players, the ones who are there to have fun, the ones who do not want to work really crazy hard in order to beat rather trivial content, rather trivial bosses. And so to prove this to you, my friends, same player, same pair of hands, same pair of eyes, same mentality, tries to beat this content here with the Druid, which I'm showing to you in the background. And here I am going to, towards the end of this video, simply cut to the same fight that I've done on Necromancer. Simply same player, take a look at what I've done on the Necromancer, and then be the judge. So, once again, summarizing for you, I think I've given you enough of a sort of a feeling description to this. As far as the description of spells and all that kind of stuff, you can obviously take a look yourselves. You can be a shaman. Yes, I know I mentioned that you can be not a shapeshifter. So you could be a druid who is a little bit more of an elementalist or enhancement shaman of World of Warcraft. But even here, some of the names of the spells, such as Stormstrike, they seem very familiar, right? But it doesn't feel that way, it doesn't feel as meaty, it doesn't feel as powerful, and once again, it's kinda not particularly satisfying. So I am personally not a massive fan of a druid, but if the feel of reaping through targets, if the feel of turning into a lycan or into a bear, werebear, is what pays for the show for you, if you're happy to go through harder, basically, if you're ready to have a harder time dealing with even not very challenging content, but perhaps you become insanely more powerful as you get some legendaries. I was not lucky enough to get any on this druid. Maybe it's worth your time investment, maybe it's worth taking a look at. Let me know in the comments down below if you got a chance to play a druid in Diablo 4 beta, or perhaps by the time you're watching this, maybe the game has already launched and you're playing in real time, on live, on retail. Maybe they'll change the class a little bit, maybe they'll give it a lot more survivability, maybe they'll give it a bit more self-healing, maybe they'll kind of create a bit of a variety of gameplay a little bit in these first 10 levels that ultimately are critical to retain the player. That is the biggest issue. I think the class will struggle retaining the player who wants a little bit more than just class fantasy. I think that's my verdict. That phrase summarizes the verdict. What you get here is very powerful class fantasy, but not the gameplay. And that is my opinion. Let me know what yours is. If you liked this video to any extent, if you found this entertaining or insightful, please give me a like and subscribe for more from me of World of Warcraft content, Diablo 4 content. It continues coming from me every week. Thanks very much, and goodbye for now.